It's very hard to heal from trauma when you're thinking and eating and breathing a hurt idea of yourself. Because even when you're not conscious, you're doing it, you're signaling to people low self-esteem. And that hurts your ability to have positive relationships. And that, in turn, makes it harder to heal. You've maybe noticed that when your childhood PTSD symptoms are kind of up again, it's as if you have a dark cloud around you that people can feel, and it pushes them away. I'm Anna Runkle, also known as the Crappy Childhood Fairy, and today I want to talk about that weird thing that can happen when abuse and neglect from your childhood are coming back to oppress you now. And I call it the Underdog Effect. You may have heard me talk about that. It's like an identity. It's an energy that can block our ability to connect with people, and it can stop our healing right when we need the healing the most. So some people call this dark cloud, or it's a vibe, or a feeling, or bad energy. But a simple way of describing the underdog effect is a set of nonverbal signals that we communicate to other people, usually without any awareness we're doing it. Whether we intend to or not, we are telling people about our inner state. And if you're feeling like you hate yourself, or that you don't belong, or that people are against you, people are going to be able to sense that when they're around you. And it's not through mind reading, but because we're showing that with our words, our facial expression, our body language, the way we dress, our posture, the way we respond to things or we don't respond. People pick it up, and we can sense it in other people too, right? Most of us have done this. We've given off a vibe, or we felt it in another person. And by the way, you can sense this in animals too. Have you noticed this? Like, have you ever met a dog who was abused in the past? And you go, "Hey doggy, how's it going? Come here, sweetie." And the dog thinks they're in trouble, and they go into that like guilty dog pose and they start trembling, okay? We do that sometimes, the human equivalent. Before we even know what's going on, we think, "Oh no, I think I must have done something inappropriate and I'm ashamed." And when I used to do that myself, I'd be ashamed for being ashamed, and I'd try to cover it by acting really tough or cocky or funny or just, I don't know, focusing on myself too much. And so no matter how I reacted to it, when I couldn't really accept what was happening, I drove people away. I was acting weird. So childhood PTSD, well, it's hard because when you're lonely, it makes you lonelier. And when you're having a hard time, it makes everything harder. It's like a downward spiral sometimes. Have you felt it? So what do you do to stop playing the underdog? I'm going to show you how to make it stop so that you can get back on your feet and connect with people again and start taking positive actions again toward your healing. So first, let's look at what's generating that dark cloud, right? It begins with harsh events in our lives that maybe started in childhood. Things like neglect, abuse that came from people you trusted, right? Now, most of us had some good experiences too, but if the bad stuff is big enough, it can get stuck in our idea of ourselves, our self-concept, and this can carry on for years or decades past the original hurt. I hear a lot from people, they were bullied in school, or they were treated as the weird kid. Maybe they were gay around kids who were straight, or maybe they had come from another country and they were struggling to speak English, or maybe they were much poorer than the other kids. So we know what that's like with kids, and it goes on into adulthood, and we experience it in workplaces. You could end up in a relationship where you're mistreated, and the longer you put up with it, the more you run the risk of internalizing it. And you get so used to it that you don't even know you're doing it. And it doesn't stop there. The unhealed wounds of the past can propel you into more wounding. Trauma begets trauma. And soon, even though you're trying hard and you never want to make things worse for yourself, you're bringing more problems into your life. And the problems go from, kind of being out here in your outer circumstances to getting internalized and becoming part of your personality or part of your experience. So for some people, this is permanent, and that is tragic. But I'm here to tell you that the wounds of past trauma really can be healed. And it might take a lot of focus and self-mastery, but you're up to that, right? When you can face the part of the problem that you've internalized, this is a great day, because this is the part, not your parents, not their failure to ever recognize what they did to you, or failure to apologize to you, not anything in the past. This you now is the part that you have power to change. If you think you can't change until someone else changes, there are plenty of YouTube channels out there that will nurture that idea for you. Here, we're all about that change within. Even when you haven't started yet, or the change you managed to make today is so small that you're embarrassed to tell anybody. But this is how you lose the underdog effect. You take back your power from whatever happened to you, and you start to change the things that are right in front of you. It's astonishing how much you can heal your self-esteem by changing the problems in your life now. And this usually happens not in great, big, huge transformations, but in a lot of small steps taken over time. So if you're with me so far, let's talk more specifically about how to get free. If you could look back in time and you could see perfectly clearly, you'd see three things going on with the underdog effect. It's a combination of bad habits, faulty decisions, and distorted perceptions. So habits, decisions, and perceptions. We never chose to be this way, remember. They're just common side effects of early trauma, and they came originally from your experiences, like being neglected or judged or invalidated or ignored or stigmatized or bullied or abused. These are real wounds, and it wasn't your fault, but now it's internalized. So how will we change? Not by going back in time, not by trying to get an apology from people who hurt us. That could happen, but even if they apologized, even if the world changed so that these hurts never again happen to another kid, that would be great, but you would still have the habits and the faulty decisions and the difficulties with clear perception that you have right now. And that's what I mean when I say this is an inside job, all right? Other people don't actually hold the key to healing your self-esteem. They can influence you, but you hold the key. You hold the key. Now, maybe you disagree with that, and believe me, there are hundreds of YouTube channels where you can get some agreement on that too. But here and in my online courses and my coaching, we take the focus inward. We search out the things that we're doing to hold ourselves down, because yes, we can change those things. There's other problems, but these are the ones we can change. And often changing those is enough to sort of get it over the mountain there into where things get better. And I know you may not have been taught how to change your habits and improve your decisions and your perceptions, but I'm going to teach you now. So just to keep things simple, let's take the example of being late for work all the time. That's a bad habit, and it's happening consistently. It's no accident. It's a decision that's causing that, let's say. And assuming we want to have this job, it's a faulty decision, or a whole series of faulty decisions, to not get up on time, to leave all the work of getting ready till the last minute, to let ourselves get distracted, whatever the reason is. So anything I do that predictably risks that I'll be late is a faulty decision. Now, why would I do that? Why would I sabotage myself like that? I want to be on time. I want to keep my job. And we know from recent research that people who had trauma in childhood are often challenged to assess the risk involved in bad decisions. Neurologically, stress can bring on a temporary dimming of the ability to gauge the potential consequences of, for example, miscalculating the time it takes to get to work. Now, you can literally see this on an MRI when a person with childhood trauma is stressed. The left front cortex has less activity. That's where reasoning happens. And the right front cortex, which is where emotions happen, gets more active. So we wake up, we feel hurried, that's stressful, and then oops, our perception distorts. We make a faulty decision about when to leave the house, then we're late, which brings on more stress, and you guessed it, the negative cycle starts again. So distorted perception, faulty decision, bad habit. And our distorted perception can make it hard to see what is something happening to us and what is a problem that we are generating. What are we bringing on ourselves? So instead of adjusting how we do things, when we're dysregulated, we rage at the traffic, or we resent the boss, or we feel judged by other people who gave us a look when we walked in late. However it plays out, the end result is that we feel bad about ourselves. We feel low self-esteem and maybe confused and distrustful all at the same time. That is the underdog effect. That's what makes all other dilemmas confusing. That's how we generate that cloud around us that feels negative to other people. So how do we change this? It's easy to say society should change, or there should be better treatments for trauma-related symptoms, and that's all true. That would be awesome. But here in present time, we have the immediate need to learn to see more clearly, which means keeping both sides of our brain up and running and helping us perceive and respond to reality. We need to make more rational decisions, and like everyone else, we need to keep working on our habits a little bit better every day. This may sound like a lot of work, but it's happy work with immediate payoffs, and it's a heck of a lot easier than staying stuck in trauma symptoms or trying to change other people. Now, there's a course that I planned for years, and I released it recently, but for years the working title was How to Act Normal with Other People, because that was something I used to not know how to do, and I wished that someone would teach it. And when I did figure it out, I made it into a course. It's actually now called the Connection Boot Camp. It's more appropriate, right? And you'll find a link to that below if that interests you. There's also down there a free course and some other courses on particular topics and a quiz right in the top line there where you can find out if you have common CPTSD symptoms. Is this even what you might have? So listen, it's not our fault that we have childhood PTSD, but the great news is healing is possible and you can do this. You get to be weird. God knows I'm weird, but the goal here is not to worry so much about that, but to be happy and useful and connected to other people as our real selves. And over time, we can project less and less of that hurt self that used to dominate our identity out onto other people as the underdog effect. You're in charge of your healing. You get to ask for help, but you get to decide what works for you. And that's how you develop both strength and wisdom. This is your healing. So be brave, keep moving forward today. Are you working on moving forward? I've got a video I think you'll like for moving forward. It's right here. And I go deeper into the mindset that I found moves people forward faster in their healing. Check it out.